Welcome to the Oddity Shop, where the bizarre is always on sale.
Hi, this is the Oddity Shop. I'm Kara. This is Zach.
Hello.
Welcome. Welcome back.
Welcome if it's your first time.
Yes.
Don't know why you still put up with us, but...
What day is it?
Today, for the non-time travelers, it is the 5th of January. I didn't think when we became podcasters, we'd also become time travelers, but it's quite interesting.
It's very strange. So it's closer to my birthday.
Nobody cares about that. Just kidding. We do. What's your New Year's resolution?
I don't have one. I don't think I've ever made one, and I don't know if I ever will. So
I don't think I actually have one either.
I don't think I've never known you to have made one.
I'm not like a New Year's resolution. I've been getting a lot better about writing down my goals or the things I'm working on, but I don't need the new year for it. I was just
going to say, I think putting a weird time, it's the new year, come up with something, I think it makes it more stressful, and it makes it I don't know. I feel like if you just do it.
I'm more of a seasonal depression resolution, or just when I'm starting to feel down or whatever, that's when I make my new resolution.
The seasonal depression is hitting so hard.
But it helps to have a resolution to pull yourself out of it, or something you're working towards, right? Because if not, you get stuck in a rut, you get all sad, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just mostly think it'll be summer soon.
Well, on a light note, you want to know something that made my day today? I think you're going to find this really cute.
Okay.
We're planning, me and my friend group are planning the Dirty 30 trip to New Orleans.
I know, I want to go, but I don't want to go.
Fair.
I'm not invited anyway.
I mean this in the nicest way, and I know how you travel, and you would hate to travel with us.
I know, because, okay, remember I was like, hey, do you think it would be okay if I go? Because I really want to go. I've never gone. And you were like, yeah, I don't think anyone would care, but blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? And I've been trying to tell myself that I should go, and I should make myself go and have fun. And you know what I'm saying? Because I don't do a lot of things like that, but I also don't. So there's that.
I love you.
So I'm not going.
You would not have fun on this trip. Okay.
I know I wouldn't.
But we're so we have the main group chat, right? And now we're branching off as we're trying to figure out things to do. We're making sub group chats of the people who want to do each of those things.
Because you guys are all going, but then you're not all doing the same things, right?
Exactly.
So you have some people that want to do this, so they're going to branch.
So
we have
which a foodie group, and we have a paranormal group.
Which is cool.
Right.
I like that.
So I'm talking to some of them. I'm talking to Missy, Danny, Nick, and we're trying to figure out this ghost hunt thing. And Lauren comes.
Oh, I didn't know Nick and Danny were going.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a girls' trip. Now I want to go.
So, hold on. Let me get to the point. So Lauren joins into this group chat a little bit late. And I said, welcome to the creep show. And her response was, yeah, you little oddballs.
Oh my God.
And it made my day, because it's the first time I've heard somebody give us our catchphrase back.
Did anyone else even know? No, because they don't listen.
They do listen.
Okay, good.
They all love it, which my friends are super supportive, and I appreciate them.
Okay, so tell us why our friends then didn't tell us that our last episode has been up for how many days, and haunting was spelt wrong.
I spelled one word wrong.
Hold on. I didn't notice it. And I listened to that episode, and I looked at it, and I didn't notice it. Somebody at work today was like, wait, what's your podcast called? And I said something, and they looked at it, and they're like, that's not how you spell haunting.
No, I really murdered
and
that.
I said, nope, you're right. That it's not. And then I walked away. After I blamed you.
I am so perfect most of the time. I can't even say that with a straight face.
I took a sip right as you said that, and I almost spit it out.
I would not have been shocked.
You're perfect to me.
Oh,
you're my type.
And this is why we're soulmates. Aaron and Nick are going to start getting jealous real soon. Good thing neither of them listen to it.
No, they're not, because they don't listen. Right.
And that's why we love our partners.
Okay, so Aaron texted you and me today because we have a group chat, and he texted, what did he ask?
He asked how many downloads we had.
Oh, it was something about the podcast. And today when I got home, he was making me dinner, and I was like, why did you ask that? Because I thought maybe somebody had like asked him about it and he was curious. And he's like, I was pretending to be interested or supportive. I was pretending to be supportive.
He asked that every couple of weeks. I'm like, oh man, maybe he actually cares. Nope, that's the Aaron I know.
He straight up, his words were, I was pretending to be supportive.
All right, last time I answered him on that. Because I was also like really busy at work too, and I was like almost annoyed, and I stopped and looked it up because I thought he actually cared.
Well, I'm going to be real. I think he really did care. But when I asked, he was being a little bit of a spicy ass, but it's fine. It was really funny because I was like, that's great. Because I keep telling him that he should be more interested and more supportive of you and I, because we'll become rich. When we become rich, it's because I don't want him to have to work anymore. So my goal is so that he doesn't have to work. Okay. And I keep telling him that he needs to be more supportive because that's my goal. So he was just being a little.
Yeah. So listen, like, and share so that Aaron doesn't have to work anymore, guys.
We can't get into all the reasons as to why Aaron's not supposed to be working anymore.
No.
So we're not going to, but it's actually a legit goal of mine.
Instead of that, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Would you rather be lost at sea with your best friend, or
I don't have a best friend.
I'm going to pretend that didn't hurt, or be lost in space with your husband?
Ooh, I don't want to be in space because I think I would throw up.
You're not going to get seasick either?
No, I don't think so. Do you know how many times I've like drank way too much alcohol and being on a boat and been fine?
All right, so would you rather be lost at sea with your friend or lost in space with your partner?
What's your answer?
I want to hear yours first because I'm going to break it down.
You've had time to think about this.
I know,
though.
which is why I don't want to give you my answer because I have had time to think.
Are we ever found? Or it's for the rest of my life? This is really
It's open-ended. I'm just going to say you're lost.
All right, here's the thing. If we're lost and then we're trying to get unlost, I think you and I could figure it out together better.
Fair.
But I don't know. Aaron's very surprising. But I don't think I want to be in space.
So you're going to pick lost at sea with your best friend?
Not for picking you or picking Aaron. I don't think I want to be in space, though.
Fair.
I don't want to run into like aliens unless they're cool, but they could be cool.
So I sat and thought about this for a while, and I picked space. The reason being is there's a ton of people on the water all the time, right? So if you're lost at sea, it's easy for you to become a statistic. But we don't have that much space travel, right? So if you're lost in space, all the media focus is going to be on you and saving you and bringing you home. So you have almost a
But what if
greater
somebody
chance.
doesn't? Okay, so you're saying that people know that we're lost? You didn't say that to me.
I didn't say that either. It's
if they did.
So I'm just thinking, like, if I'm lost at sea, I could see that being easily forgotten, but lost in space has the chance to become a media sensation. And if you're like popular in the media, your chances of being saved.
Who's going to save you? Elon Musk? He don't care.
Maybe.
I was thinking that I just didn't want to be in space, but now I'm kind of thinking like, would it be cool to be in space? Probably. I don't think I can answer this question.
All right. Well, how about an imagine this situation instead?
Do you feel the most powerful and beautiful with the elements of the earth around you? Do you like one-of-a-kind jewelry? Do you sometimes feel like a woodland fairy? Me too. That's why I created Holly and Hemlock, a magical shop filled with handmade wooden jewelry and metaphysical tools. Come check out our enchanting wooden wares at www.hollyhemlock.com and join us in honoring the magic and beauty of nature with each unique creation. That's www.hollyhemlock.com.
I don't remember what you're about to tell me.
That's fine.
Oh, I do.
Imagine you just came down with a severe illness. You lose consciousness. And the next thing you know, you wake up in a small, cramped space.
Done.
And realize you've been buried alive. Are you going to save yourself?
How?
Well, stay tuned. Maybe I have some tidbits of advice for you.
Yeah, I want one of those things where I can blow into it and it rings a bell.
Well, this week we're talking about premature burial, and maybe by the end of this, you'll be able to save yourself if you're ever buried alive.
Okay, are you going to get cremated or buried?
Oh, cremated, 100%. I just think it's more economical.
Yeah, and then your body doesn't like accidentally get like dug up or something.
Well, I mean, one, it's cheaper. You take up less space. And
What do you care if it's cheaper?
I'm cheap.
You're not paying for it.
Right, though, but I don't want to have a burden. And at the end of the day, like, do I need to be put in a wood box and then into a cement, you know, what do they call it?
I want to be in a crypt, my own little crypt.
Yeah, see, all that takes up too much space. It's too much money.
Okay.
Whatever. Just burn me and throw me somewhere. Anyways, so premature burial can be called a few different things. We've got live burial, being buried alive. There's a word that I'm going to absolutely destroy called vivisector. Don't know where it comes from, but could mean buried alive.
Vivisector?
Vivisector. Yeah, I'm destroying it. But so there's a few reasons you could be buried alive, right? There's a form of like murder or execution. People have been buried alive for ritual killing or from natural disaster.
Wait.
You don't usually think of when you're talking about being buried alive, but very, very real way to, be in this situation.
Hold on. You said murder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess that's true. Like, yeah, you could torture somebody, bury them alive. Okay.
All right. So most cases are categorized as being either accidental or intentional when it comes to being buried alive. Right?
Would there be any other way? Accidental?
I'm just saying, because we're going to go into a couple cases in a few minutes here, and I'm going to tell you whether it's accidental or intentional.
Okay.
But did you know that being buried alive is actually one of the most common phobias?
Yes.
It's called taphophobia.
TAF? T-A-F?
T-A-P-H.
Oh, taphophobia?
So we've got a double PH in this. Taphophobia.
Taphophobia. Ew.
Do you know how often this happens?
It's way more than you want to know.
So I found two different stats, and both of them are unsettling. Mm-hmm. So one says anywhere from 1 in 1,000 burials is an alive burial. If you look at the totality of humanity as a whole, there's another stat that says 2% of total burials in the US and Europe have been premature or people buried alive.
What's the stats now? Now?
That's where we get the 1 in 1,000. So there's certain times, though, where it's higher, right? So in times of pestilence, disease, and war, your chances of being buried alive are much higher.
I mean,
to stop the spread of disease, injured soldiers,
I hate this so much.
I knew you were going to hate this one, which is why we're going to have so much fun with it. So anyways, this phobia is so intense that throughout history, people have come up with tons of ways to keep it from happening. Particularly during the 19th century, for some reason, the fear was
because it happened a lot.
Really, really high. Oh, right. I mean, you had war, you had disease, you had terrible medical care at that time.
And I just feel like at that point, you could just be a doctor.
Now, the other reason, though, that the statistics of being buried alive were higher at that point is because you had a lot more bodies being dug up than you do now.
Mm-hmm.
So grave diggers were really, really prevalent right then. And they would usually be the first ones to report finding the scratch marks inside coffins or seeing injuries to bodies of people who were buried and they weren't buried with those injuries.
Unfortunately, that's how people even knew about it. Because if you weren't digging up these bodies, you would have never known that people were being buried alive because no one just digs up bodies. So unfortunately, grave diggers for black market parts and weird ass things kind of did us a good thing to realize that maybe we should double check people are dead.
They taught us that,
in a really morbid, upsetting way. Yes. Thank you, gravediggers. Body snatchers.
Out of that, there became a slew of methods to keep this from happening. But before I get into those methods, I want to tell you 4 stories of different alive burials.
Are these all spread out over years, different year time frames?
Yeah, we got different time frames and we got different situations. So the first one.
Why do you keep looking over there?
I keep looking over here because I got the idea for this episode from our book.
Okay, you were just kind of freaking me out.
No. I keep looking at the book. This is where I got the idea. So our first story comes out of Argentina for the story of Rufina Cambaceres.
Rufina. I like it.
So Rufina is born in 1883 to a successful author in Argentina. So she comes from a very, very wealthy family. She's kind of an aristocrat. She's known as actually a great beauty of the city.
Ooh. Can you refer to me as that? Great beauty.
Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly what we're going with. What's the smallest city in Michigan? Anyways, so the year now is 1902. Rufina is getting ready for her 19th birthday. It's supposed to be just an absolutely huge affair. Her mom is putting on the party. Dad had passed a few years before this, but on the day of the party, she finds out that her mom...
Wait, they still had a party?
Her 19th birthday?
But your dad just died.
No, her dad died years before.
Oh.
You just didn't listen
No,
to that.
I'm sorry. You said just passed. Okay.
Her dad passed years before.
I heard
this.
just passed. Sorry.
On the day of her 19th birthday party, she finds out that her mom has been sleeping with her best friend's fiance. Not her mom's best friend's fiance, Rufina.
Who's 19 or turning 19.
Yeah. Her best friend comes to her and tells her this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This breaks Rufina. She claps on the floor sometime after hearing the news. 3 different doctors were called, and she's pronounced dead at the scene of a heart attack.
What?
Yeah, and this is early 1900s, broken heart syndrome, whatever. So devastated, her mom orders her to be buried right away in the Recoleta Cemetery, which is the same cemetery that Eva Perón is buried in.
Who's that?
The First Lady of Argentina, the musical Evita. She was played by Madonna. There's the song Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Okay, nope.
Oh my God, she is so famous, and people still go visit her mausoleum to this day. She's actually like a stone's throw from Eva Perón. I cannot believe you don't know who that is. Anyways, I'm going to move on. Rufina is put for a short amount of time in her family's vault, right? So bodies would be held in the vault before they're buried. God. So she's in her coffin. It's a stone coffin.
Okay.
In the vault.
How many days is she?
Not very long. Her mom kind of orders it right away. They had the ceremony. After the ceremony, they were going to open her casket to remove the jewels that were put on her at the time for the funeral.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is this vault just like normal temperature? It's just like a normal vault? So
Yep.
You're just like kind of decomposing?
A vault is another name for a mausoleum, basically.
Okay.
They open the casket to remove the jewels, and there's scratch marks on the lid. Her face is badly scratched. Her hands are bruised. Like I said, it's made of stone, so she couldn't get it open. More doctors are brought in, and they discover that Rufina had not actually passed away. She was suffering from catalepsy, which is a condition where your body goes very rigid and your vital signs are really, really low, but not non-existent. She basically woke up in her own coffin, tries to escape, and dies of exhaustion and shock. Like, that is her actual coffin.
Yeah, okay. The thing about these stories that we don't know what it would be like, right? But a lot of them, well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know where your brain goes. I don't know what happens. But a lot of these stories, and maybe they're not all like the ones you're going to tell us, but a lot of these stories they always say that their face is all scratched. Like they've scratched their own face. Why?
No, think the size of a coffin.
Oh.
You don't have much space between your hands and the top of it. So if you are desperately trying to
oh my God, I never thought about that. Okay. That makes way more sense. Because almost every story you hear that their face was like you said, bruised, scratched, and I'm just like, I don't understand. Yep. Is it just because you're delusional or you think something's not? But that makes so much sense.
Well, the other thing is you're scratching at the lining and everything. Whatever
is falling
you're
down in
is
your
also
face.
Falling on your face. Now, the other thing too, right? Their face is being bruised. You're waking up in a coffin. You probably try to sit up.
That's true. And you're bashing your... Oh, God.
So anyways, you can still visit her tomb today.
Oh, great.
Where Rufina is better known as the girl who died twice.
That is a horrible... Is that like posted on her grave? I hope not.
I'm not sure. So anyways, that's obviously an unintentional...
Well, she better haunt whatever idiot claimed that she was dead. I would haunt the shit out of his entire family line.
Keep that in mind for number 2. We got Octavia Smith Hatcher.
Octavia. I like that.
So Octavia is from Pikeville, Kentucky.
Okay.
This is, she died in 1891. So
When was the last one?
that was 1883. So
1883, 1891. Okay.
So she lives in Pikeville, Kentucky. At the age of 20, she gives birth to her firstborn child named Jacob.
Okay.
Jacob passes pretty much within hours of being born.
Yikes.
So Octavia, she sinks into a long and severe depression, eventually slips into a coma, and on May 2nd, same year, 1891, she's pronounced dead.
So she was in a coma for, what did you say?
A couple months.
Okay. And then I think she died.
So this was during a really, really hot spring. It's Pikeville, it's Kentucky, it's the South. So they buried her rather quickly.
Oh, God.
However, during the same hot spell, early in the spring, a lot of people started falling into swoons, they call them, which is an old-fashioned way, basically, of saying they passed out.
Okay.
So during this mass swooning, a lot of people died.
Oh, my God. Is that why they say, like, they were swooning over you? Like, oh, swooning.
They were passing out. Yeah.
I swoon over you.
But a lot of people who had been unresponsive started to recover.
Oh, my
So
God.
not ones who had been buried. So
did they then, like, we should check on her?
a lot of families who had people pass of, like, a similar illness were
Oh,
like, my
God.
God, as people are starting to recover, did we prematurely bury our dead? Or dead.
Are dead.
So historians actually believe now that there was a mosquito-borne illness that caused encephalitis, which is swelling of your brain.
That makes you pass out?
That made people pass out, go into comas, and
That makes more
really,
sense.
really low vital signs because their brain wasn't working well.
Oh, Lord.
Another theory is that it could have been gas escaping from a coal mine and caused similar things, right? But Octavia's family decided to dig her up to see if she'd been buried alive and see if she was somehow still alive.
Let me ask you this before you continue. What do you want to know? Because she's not going to be alive.
Well, that's the thing is, I guess some other people had found recently dead people who were still alive. And remember, it's really warm, so they're like, okay, maybe there's a chance she's still alive.
Wouldn't you think that I don't know. How long was she buried? Do we know?
Only a couple days. Couple days is long enough for them to find an absolutely horrible sight.
Oh, God.
When they exhume the body, her fingers are shredded down to bloody stumps.
Oh, no.
The coffin lining is completely shredded. And her face is not the same, calm face they buried her with. It's completely contorted in signs of struggle as she had tried to make her escape. So Octavia's husband is beyond himself. He lost his son. He lost his wife. So he when they go to bury her and her son,
oh my God,
he has them buried on top of a hill overlooking a beautiful scene. And he actually has a marble statue carved of his wife looking over the hilltop she was buried at.
I could never live with myself. I know you're not the one that declared her like dead, but I don't know. I guess you'd go both ways. Like if you didn't unbury her, what's the word? If you didn't exhume her, right, you'd always wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but then you did. She's now dead for sure. And you just realized that you guys buried her alive and she suffered a horrible, horrible, horrible death. Alone and scared and wondering what the hell happened.
So the next thing I have written down is he never remarried or really recovered from the trauma of losing his wife and son.
'Cause how?
So what he did, and you'll love this because you actually talked about it earlier, he invented his own coffin before his death. He was buried at her feet, and in his grave ran a string tied to his finger through a tube, and above ground it was connected to a bell. That way, in case he was buried alive, he would be rescued.
And I because Octavia's sounded really familiar. Okay,
now,
so
what you were saying too about the haunting, this actually, so it's Kentucky, it's in the Appalachian, which is super, super haunted. Her gravesite is said to be haunted. Some people actually claim to see her ghost on the
hill
anniversary of her death on that hill. Other people say that the statue actually
the marble one,
it turns. I mean, read into that what you will.
I would just be haunting the people that the coroner. Yeah, you're done.
All right, are you ready for another one? This is now.
No, not actually.
This is a case of intentional being buried alive.
We're you know what? 30 minutes. We gotta go. This episode is long. We're good.
We're gonna talk about Stephen Small now. So Stephen Small in 1947 is a prominent businessman in Kankakee, Illinois.
Okay.
So he owned a media conglomerate called Mid-American Media. He became very wealthy. He was in right about 40. Yeah, age 40, September 2nd, 1987.
87, okay.
He receives a phone call from a police officer saying that one of the properties that he owned had been broken into.
Like a house property or like a business?
I'm not really sure. So
okay.
he owned a lot of property. We do know that. So this is at about midnight too. So he agrees to go check on the property and meet the policeman there. At 3:30 in the morning, his wife, Nancy, gets a call saying,
"Nope,
we have your husband." So they put the husband sort of on the phone. She hears him in the background saying he's been handcuffed in a box underground. Stephen tells his wife that if she gets $1 million in cash, he would be let go.
Oh, so this was not the police that called?
No, it was not the police at all. It was a kidnapper. So the kidnapper says, Nancy, do not call the authorities. We're going to contact you multiple times, and each time we're going to ask you if you have the money. Nancy, being the smart, independent woman that she is, immediately calls the cops. So the calls keep coming in throughout the day asking her if she has the money, and every time the cops are tracing the call. They find out that they're calling from a local gas station.
Idiots.
Remember, he was kidnapped at about midnight. She first starts getting calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. At about midnight the next day, the cops are waiting at the gas station. They see the kidnapper, go to the payphone and call, and they immediately apprehend him.
Okay.
He's caught, whatever. He leads police to where Stephen is buried. And what they did was basically a couple feet underground, they created a plywood coffin.
So this was just, they caught one guy, but it wasn't more than...
No, so it was just one guy. They took Stephen. They wanted to, kidnap him. How do you keep a hostage? You bury him underground. So they had created a plywood coffin. They filled it.
You keep saying they, and now I'm thinking there's more people.
Oh, sorry. It's just one person. And
they could be a they. I just want to make sure.
His girlfriend was kind of in on it. So
okay, so they.
Yeah. So they bury him in a plywood box underground. It's got a gallon of water, candy bars, other snacks, gum, a flashlight, and a light connected to a car battery. So, I mean, overall.
All right. So they were just thinking, I'm just going to keep you hostage here. I'm going to give you what you need. Gum, obviously, because we don't want you to smell your own bad breath. And then we'll let you out when we get the money from your wife.
So they also put
sounds like a solid
tube
plan
into the box that came above the ground.
Solid plan.
Well, the thing is that the tube went too far into the box and not tall enough into the air. So the carbon monoxide was not escaping and oxygen was not able to flow in. Stephen died from asphyxiation.
Oh.
He had been underground about 24 hours by the time that police found him.
Then I'm thankful that he didn't sit there longer suffering, I guess.
Doctors say there's no way with the amount of oxygen in there that he would have survived more than 3 to 4 hours. So at 3:30 in the morning, when he was talking to his wife on the phone, he probably only had about an hour left. So the kidnapper, whose name is Danny Edwards, he goes on trial and he's given the death sentence.
I'm dead.
In 2003, him as well as all the other inmates on death row had their sentences commuted to only life in prison.
Okay, this was 86 when he did this?
87.
87. So he probably went to jail in like 89 or 8 something. And then, I'm sorry, 2003 what?
2003, instead of being on death row, he's commuted to life in prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not... Life in prison to me is almost more torturous than you being murdered. Like you being on death row. Like you're dead. Like we're going to kill you. Like you almost deserve to just be... I don't know.
Yeah. Are you ready for case number 4?
No.
You're going to like this one, actually. I was astounded by this one. We have Angelo Hayes next. Angelo Hayes is born in 1918 in France. In 1937, at the age of 19, he takes a ride out on his motorcycle.
Okay.
Angelo doesn't know how to drive a motorcycle very well.
Why does he have one?
I mean, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yes.
However, he crashes headfirst into a brick wall and fractures his skull.
He really doesn't know how to drive that motorcycle.
So doctors examine him. They can't find a pulse. He is declared dead. The impact is so severe that his own parents weren't even allowed to view the body. So he's laid to rest. However, a couple days before he dies, there's a insurance plan taken out in his name.
Shut the
So the insurance investigators requested that his body be exhumed because they obviously raised suspicion because a policy had just been taken out.
Was he still alive?
When they opened the coffin, at which point he had been in for 2 days, they noticed the body is still warm.
Shut the front door.
Doctors later determined that Angelo had been in a deep coma caused by the head injury, catalepsy, very similar to what Octavia had been in. Angelo is still very much fully alive.
Okay, well, that probably saved his life that he was in a coma.
Mm-hmm. So when you're in this like deep coma or catalepsy state, because your body has shut down anything that's not needed, you also need a lot less oxygen.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So after many medical procedures, believe it or not, Angelo makes a full fucking recovery. He lived until the age of 90 and passed away in 2008.
Good for him.
Angelo goes one step further, however, and almost becomes a minor celebrity in France for his invention of a safety coffin. His coffin includes a food locker, an oxygen supply, a chemical toilet, a radio transmitter, alarm bells, and even a place to store your books and a light so that while you're waiting to be rescued, you have something to do.
I love him.
Amazing. Man was buried for 2 days after a traumatic head injury and survived.
So he for sure really didn't know how to ride his motorcycle. Who took out this insurance policy on him though?
It wasn't clear if it was like family or a partner or anything, but it wasn't done in. Yeah, it was suspicious time-wise, but it wasn't like it was a purposeful accident.
It wasn't planned as
no,
in,
it was
he really
totally
did.
Circumstantial.
But they were like, this is kind of odd. Let's just verify he's dead. Wow.
So we've talked about intentional, we've talked about unintentional, we've talked about people who died, people who've lived. I feel like we can't cover being buried alive without at least an honorable mention of natural disasters, which is something you don't think of too much when you think about being buried alive.
I thought you were only telling me 4 stories.
Those are the 4 stories. We're doing the honorable mention, as I just said.
Yeah, you didn't tell me that.
This is
I wasn't prepared.
why some of those stats of like the 1 in 1,000 or 2% of deaths can be attributed to being buried alive. A huge number of those comes from natural disasters.
Oh, like avalanches. You're technically buried alive.
Tsunamis, mudslides, avalanches, volcanic eruptions, hurricanes, like people every.
But I don't think of that as being buried alive. I mean, I know you technically are.
So 3 examples, right? We got Pompeii, 79 AD, 2,000 people buried alive in ash. Indonesia in 2004, at least 300 residents of one city are buried alive by a tsunami. Mount Everest in 2015, 22 people on the mountain die, and thousands more across the country after a 7.8 Richter scale earthquake creates avalanches that crushed hikers, demolish entire towns, and even Kilimanjaro, the capital, towers fell, just burying people. And the thing is you don't know how long they were alive there for until they met their untimely death. These are just a few examples, but it's so
I hate all of this. I get where you're coming from. It is technically buried alive, but when somebody says buried alive, that's not where I think. I think of the first 4 stories, but I get
same. But that's why we have to talk about it.
I'm trying to think of what I would do. You can't do anything. There's nothing you can do.
No, hold on to that. I want to go with one last thing, and then we're going to get into some strategies. So,
oh God,
obviously this has been a thing. We only talked. Those 4 stories are late 1800s through, now. But cultures across time and the world have always had ways to make sure bodies weren't being buried alive. So ancient Rome, bodies were not actually buried until 8 days after they were discovered in case they weren't dead.
Exactly.
And this actually gives rise to like the modern day wake.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1800s, that's when safety coffins were introduced, allowing victims to raise a flag, ring a bell, or yell through a tube. Other strategies to make sure people weren't buried alive. And this one's, I almost said slayed me, but I feel like that's just a poor choice of words.
I love it.
Some doctors would actually cut victims or dead people's arteries.
Oh, to see if they would
to make sure in case they woke up, they wouldn't be able to not escape. They were dead. This is also where you start to see the mirror trick, to hold it up to see if people are really shallow breathing. You'd hold the mirror up to the mouth or nose. In the 20th century too, they would also light a candle and hold it between people's fingertips and their fingernail, thinking even if they were in a really deep coma, they would react to such pain.
They would react to that. Yeah. Oh.
The final thing is that people do to try to make sure they didn't bury their bodies alive was simply wait for signs of decay before they bury them, which just led to way more disease. But
right, because you have all these decaying bodies just chilling.
Anyways, as I promised you, because this has been a really, really dark subject matter, I want to leave you with a step-by-step instructions on how to survive being buried alive if it happens to you today. Are you ready?
Should I write it down?
I mean, it's going to be recorded. You could just listen again.
Oh, that is true. Okay.
All right. Number 1.
Yes.
You need to conserve your air supply.
How am I going to conserve my air supply?
You're going to do that because most coffins only have enough air for 1 to 2 hours. So you're going to breathe deeply and hold it for as long as possible. You don't want to take shallow breaths because that could lead you to hyperventilate. Also, if you need a light source, either go in the dark or go with something electronic. If you try to use a lighter or anything fire to get your light, you're going to burn through that oxygen in a minute.
Okay, well, I was buried alive. I'm not going to have a light source.
This is just a tip, Kara. If you're buried in a cheap coffin,
oh God,
your step 2 is to try to flex the lid enough to break it.
Okay, so we want to make sure that we're cheaply buried just in case. Oh, do you want that expensive coffin when you die or this really cheap ass one? Give me that cheap ass one because if I'm buried alive, I can break it. If
you're buried in something metal or hardwood, your only hope is to signal for rescue. So you want to try to find a loose metal object and make as much noise as possible.
You know that none of these tips are good, right?
Hold on. You also want to try to learn the Morse code for SOS.
Oh my God. How am I going to learn the Morse code if I'm in a coffin?
For somebody who's really upset by this, I want you to know I got all these tips out of a book you got me. It is a coffee table book, 101 ways.
I didn't get it for you.
Yeah, you did. Do you remember this a couple of years ago? You bought me 101 ways.
Oh, that book.
Yes.
Oh my God, that book. Dude, I knew that we were going to need this book. Okay, that was in there?
Yeah. Okay, so the next step, whether you're able to get out or not, remove your shirt and tie it around your head so that it makes a mask. So that if you do break through the lid of the coffin and dirt starts to come down, you'll be able to breathe while you climb.
It won't suffocate you. Okay, that's actually a useful one.
So even if you're not in a super cheap coffin and it's a little bit nicer, you have a shit ton of weight above your head.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. It's not...
Which helps. If it's wood, even hardwood, it should start to be weakened because you're in a bubble with so much weight on you that you should be able to use your feet. Don't use your hands to try to claw out. Use your feet and your legs to try to break the lid open. If you're able to break the lid open, know that dirt is going to start rushing in. So you're going to use only your arms. You stop using your legs at this point to push the dirt to your sides and down towards your feet. While wearing your mask so that you can use your arms to push upward. You're pushing the dirt down to your feet and you almost make stairs that you can climb up.
Okay, you know what? I'm just going to die.
Well, I tried to leave you with some tips.
Nope, because at this point, if this happens and I get out, the hell that I am going to raise on everybody that did this to me, I'm going to end up in jail anyway. I'm just going to die in the coffin.
You come out all covered in dirt, looking undead anyway. Somebody would probably just kill you thinking you're a zombie.
At that point, I would be okay with it.
Anyways, you could be the next girl who died twice.
So everybody listening right now, if they did want to get buried, change their mind. We're all going to get cremated. If you're Kyle, you want to have a Viking funeral. So we have to put him on a boat and burn him.
I've been saying I wanted a Viking funeral for my 20s, not like a real Viking funeral, but like,
no,
I just want Julia to push me out on like a stand-up paddleboard instead of like, using an arrow to like light me on fire. I just want her to throw really nice messages at me, like write something nice about me, ball it up on a piece of paper and throw it at me so I can just have a funeral for my 20s.
No, yes, let's do that. That would be fun. But I'm not actually exaggerating, or I'm not kidding. My brother has enlisted me and our really good friend James Anderson. Like, if this is not what we do when he dies, there will be hell to pay.
Are either of you a good shot with a bow?
Oh, all of it. Like it's
fair.
I'm like, you know what? We actually can't do that, right? We will get arrested. He's like, I'm putting it in my will. I'm like, how am I going to pull this off? Hopefully he doesn't die.
At least before you.
I'll die first. Right.
But yeah, no, that's the interesting tales I found about being buried alive and what you could possibly do to overcome it.
Yeah, that's disturbing. I don't have a lot of words left. I feel like there's more that needs to be said, but I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's not one that we can really discuss the theories because we discuss them as we go, but it's an oddity for sure.
It is. And thankfully, it doesn't happen as often because we do have a way better,
Yeah, most of the ones that are still happening today are the natural disasters, which is why you can't talk about this without bringing them up.
Or murder.
Yeah,
I think that if I decide to be buried, which I don't know if I want to be burned, so I'm not quite sure, but if I do decide I want to be buried, I'm going to have an emergency kit in there. But also, I want you all to wait 10 days before you bury me.
Or just have a wedge and a hammer in your emergency kit.
Yeah, but also wait 10 days.
Fair.
If I come back to life, cool. If not, I have my emergency kit and, maybe I'll still come back.
Fair enough.
And we'll just burn you.
I mean, that's honestly how I want to go. Okay.
Okay,
Really, really quick side note. One time we were at a funeral and you know how funeral homes sometimes have the showrooms where you can see the caskets or the urns or whatever? We found an urn with
and your mom crawled in it?
No. She crawled into the hot pink casket.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
When the guy said something about, or she tried to get into it, he stopped her and she said, well, if I'm going to be here for an eternity, I want to make sure it's comfortable.
Which she's not wrong.
True. Especially if you wake up alive.
Right.
We also, we found an urn with a clock on it. And we had mentioned very nicely to my father that if he dies, we're just going to put him in the urn with a clock on it and call him Father Time.
You guys are all idiots. I love it.
I love my family, as strange as we may be.
God, okay, I was gonna say something, and then that was better. But what was I gonna say? Oh, you know what was in my notes that this kind of ties into? That there was a job to be a funeral clown.
I love that.
No. Apparently, there really was a job though as a funeral clown. How terrifying. No. What?
All right. We could keep going on.
Okay. I have one last side note before we have to be done. This is really weird. This part's not weird. Well, to some it might be. I want to own a funeral home. Number one, you'll never be broke because
people are always going to die.
People are always going to die. I say it all the time to Aaron, we should own a funeral home. Everybody else can run it. We don't have to be there. I mean, I want to be there. We don't have to be there. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. I would love that. That'd be cool. When I was little, and I'm talking elementary school, I had this friend, and we can get into her later on. It's elementary, maybe middle school. We can get into her because her house was super haunted later in other episodes or whatnot, because I have so many stories. Most of my haunted stories were at her house. However, she was just a weirdo. Loved her. I will never forget. One day she was just you're going to work at a funeral home. And I was like, what is wrong? Like, I was like, no, I would never do that. Like, what is wrong with you? And I remember being offended for years and thinking, like, what is wrong with her? Like, why would she ever say that about me? Like, that's not even cool. Like, I remember being like freaked out and like, no. Now I'm like, wait a second.
Well, now you're hosting this morbid ass podcast and thinking it might be good.
Exactly. And now all I've ever wanted for the last like 5 years is to own a funeral home. And I'm like, bro, Shannon, if you're out there, hello, what was I missing? Where did I go wrong? Maybe if I would have leaned into what she told me, I would have already had one by now.
You could have.
Anyway.
All right, we gotta let these people go.
Nobody's here.
Nobody's here, but if you are here,
Thank
like,
you.
subscribe, and for the love of God, write in some stories for us. We want to read your stories. We're sick of writing stories. Not really.
No, but my favorite things on other podcasts have been like listener tales and like the listeners write in, and I love listening to that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I would love to have, like an off little segment of us writing or us reading what people have written in. So please write in. I don't even care if you message us on Instagram or Facebook, or you just like comment a story. You don't even have to go through our official Linktree thing. I don't even care. Do whatever you want. Email us directly. I don't really care. Give us your
carrier pigeon even.
That would actually be really legit. I'll take that. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and most of all, creep it real, oddballs.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oddity Shop.